Donald Trump today hosting a showy press conference, clearly meant to evoke the image of him as some sort of president in exile, announcing what he calls a class action lawsuit against Facebook, Twitter, Google, the letter E, the color blue, I don't know, alleging he has been, quote, wrongfully censored. But legal experts say his lawsuit won't hold water, and Trump is already fundraising off the lawsuit. Another hint, this may not be anything other than for show. Because if it's meant to be more than just a show, there could be a discovery phase. And does Trump really want discovery? It all tracks with the strange scene today. Trump speaking from a podium he created from Etsy to look uncannily similar to the presidential podium. And even answering questions as if he was still at the White House and not at a golf course in New Jersey.
What did you do to stop the insurrection, as some people call it, and why were you not able to stop it?
So that whole event, unfortunate event, just went through Congress and a report was issued and my name wasn't even mentioned.
An unfortunate event. Like, apparently Trump thinks that, like, Lemony Snicket led the insurrection, when in fact it was him, and Congress impeached him a second time for encouraging it. And that report that he mentioned, issued by the Senate last month, actually does mention Trump's name more than 40 times. Not surprising, another lie from the former president. The truth is, the real legal action surrounding Donald Trump is taking place right now in prosecutors' offices in Lower Manhattan, with his company and CFO indicted on 15 counts. Joining me now is NYU law professor Melissa Murray and national affairs correspondent for The Nation, Joan Walsh. Melissa, Professor Murray, I'm going to start with you. And I think this is important to sort of do this reset every single day. When I talk to people who don't do this for a living, they're like, how much trouble is Donald Trump in? So can you lay out to the audience again, with investigations into the CFO, with information about them keeping two sets of books, how much trouble will Donald Trump be in if he was anyone other than Donald Trump?
So, I mean, it's a pretty damning picture. But again, this is a person who has managed to distance himself from all manner of criminal activity that is swirling around him. So, again, the Trump organization has already been implicated in this. Alan Weisselberg has already been implicated in this. Will this go so far as to actually touch Donald Trump? That remains to be seen. But surely he is involved in this. It's whether or not there can actually be evidence that links him to it in a conclusive way that prosecutors can then use to prove all of the elements of their case. But it's not great. But this is a guy who's always been very slippery.
And I'm going to follow up on that. So when you say he's been very slippery, is that, look, in the past, he suggested that he's paid people off, he's bought people off, he's basically bragged about all sorts of criminal activity. Donald Trump doesn't have that much influence anymore. So is this just a matter of when? Because it's not like, Rudy Giuliani can't practice law, can't protect him anymore. He doesn't have the same kind of juice that he used to have. So is this an inevitability, or are there still holes in these cases and investigations that could allow Trump or members of his family to get free?
But I think it's hard to say because we don't know what all of the evidence is or what all of the charges will be. Again, I think if there's something connecting him to this in a more explicit way, we're going to learn about that in the next couple of weeks. But without actually knowing what the case against him is, I think it's going to be hard to say. But as to him not having influence, I think that explains why we have this incredibly bizarre class action lawsuit today, which is, it seems, is not only intended to get him back in front of the cameras and back into our radar screens, but also to drum up some funds for all of the different legal initiatives that he has going on at this point.
So, Joan, I was unhappy with my eggs this morning, and I decided I was going to sue breakfast. And that is about as substantive a lawsuit as Donald Trump right now saying that he's going to sue Facebook and Twitter and Google and Tumblr and probably Friendster. Isn't this really just about the fact that he's starving for attention? Because you don't have to be a lawyer, even play one on TV, to think that he hates the fact that every single day he is not able to be on social media platforms. And that's really what this suit is about.
It's entirely what it's about. I mean, this lawsuit is as dead as the Trump Foundation and Trump University and Ivanka's clothing line. I won't milk this. I could go on and on and on. You know that. But it's first and foremost an attempt to get back in front of the cameras, which succeeded, as well as a ginormous grift. I mean, clearly the fundraising appeals went out from him and Don Jr. Almost immediately. I hope they're not doing what they did during the campaign, which was sign people up automatically for monthly repeat donations. These people are eternally ready to fall for him. But that's all it is about. And right, we would love to see it go forward because we would really enjoy seeing him deposed and asked questions under oath about his involvement in January 6th and other things that led to his belatedly being kicked off these platforms. So it would be a sight to behold, but we will never behold it.
We know that Trump will have truly hit rock bottom when he's doing OnlyFans and Cameo like Don Jr. There's audio now of sort of how small the Trump circle has become since the law is really going after them and they don't have this kind of influence. I want to play this audio, Joan, and get your thoughts on the other side.
If you happen to walk by Ivanka, what would you like to say to her?
Actually, we did see her. My wife and I were returning about a month or so ago, and she was leaving the building. I know she saw us, but she went ahead, she put a newspaper in front of her face in order to, make sure that we didn't catch eyes. I know she did, but I don't really care at this point. Right now, it's only about the truth and getting the truth out.
This new season of Succession is going to be great. The fact that you have a situation where Ivanka Trump is now avoiding eye contact with Michael Cohen, this isn't just sort of high school drama. It suggests to me, and Joan, I'm curious what your thoughts are, it suggests to me that the number of people who they think they can flex on an influence has diminished immensely since just a couple months ago.
Well, I think Michael Cohen has been outside of their circle for quite a while, but there are also reports that she's not especially close to her father lately, and that, she's using her helpers in the media to send forth this notion that she's estranged, she's embarrassed by so much of what he's done. We've been through this before, but, we do know, we literally don't know what's going on with these investigations, so I don't want to over speculate or promise anything. But she, if her dad is in trouble, she's in trouble. The boys are in trouble. It can't be very comfortable. Their family dynamics. It's very Succession-like. I'm dying for that next season. This is going to have to do for a while.
So, Melissa, I have a list right here of all the people who are authorized to sign checks in the Trump organization. We got Don and Ivanka and Don Jr. and Eric Trump and Alan Weisselberg, all these people. If you are in a position to sign checks in this organization, you are potentially in position to get investigated and possibly face consequences for the fact that the organization was, holding two sets of books. If you're to look at this list right now, which of these people, we already know about Weisselberg, which of these people do you think might be the most concerned? Because I can imagine, look, maybe Ivanka, maybe Don Jr. is like, look, I only signed checks to charity. I wasn't really paying that attention. Do they have reason to be concerned if they did more than sign a couple of charity checks?
Again, all of this really depends on what comes out in this investigation. It could be the case that the person who's really handling most of this and going back and forth between the two different sets of books is Alan Weisselberg. It's right. Entirely possible that it's set up that way so that only one person is on the hook and that person isn't related to Donald Trump in any way. Picking between these three children, this is just sort of whack-a-mole at this point. This entire family is almost inextricably bound up in this cult of personality that is the Trump organization and their father. And so sort of extricating these leads is going to be incredibly difficult. But I think if the Trump organization is in trouble and Alan Weisselberg is in trouble, all of these individuals are also going to be worried.
And going forward, I want to take us back also to Donald Trump's lawsuit that he's announcing today. He's like, I'm going to sue all these social media outlets. The law isn't always clear as to whether or not a president can block people or public officials can block people one way or another. But is there any case here? Because quite frankly, Twitter, Facebook, a lot of social media platforms seem to be really inconsistent in who they ban and how and what they do and do not consider to be abuse. So could Trump have a case here? Could he say, hey, look, I was in trouble. That was Donald Trump, the president. Now is Donald Trump, the private citizen. I should be able to say what I want. Does he have any sort of case here? And would it matter if he's going against Facebook or Google or Twitter and how strong his case is?
Well, to be clear, this particular lawsuit is filed and is based on his, I guess, the banning from Facebook on January 7th of 2021. And he's arguing that in banning him, Facebook has violated the First Amendment. That's the first problem, because only government actors are subject to the First Amendment. And Facebook, despite being a social platform that has incredible utility for most of the country, is not actually an arm of the government. And collaboration between Facebook and the government does not suffice to make Facebook a public entity. So the First Amendment actually doesn't apply. The second claim here is that the Communications Decency Act, Section 230, which immunizes platforms from lawsuits over content moderation, should be struck down as unconstitutional. I think that's also a hard issue to follow. I mean, there's been a lot of criticism of Section 230, but there's also been a lot of praise for it for being the conduit for which the internet has been allowed to flourish, because platforms have had this immunity from suit based on what is offered on those platforms, with some important limitations, like you cannot advertise for crime, sex trafficking, and things like that. But there's pretty much a free reign on the internet, and that's been part of what has made the internet so successful. So again, I don't think there's a lot here. This is, I think, as Joan says, an opportunity for former President Trump to fundraise off of his own sense of being bereaved or beleaguered by the public.